This.
Okay.
And we'll call the meeting to order. This is a special meeting. If you would, please stand, and I'll offer the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you and we humble our hearts, God. We ask you just to bless us here today. We thank you for your grace and mercy. Lord, I pray for our nation, for our county, Lord, for our state, for all those who have this virus, God, that you would just heal them. I just pray that you would make this stuff just go away, Lord. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The reason for today's meeting is to discuss what we've done thus far as the coronavirus and then what we're in there.
To date, the commission has, as of right now, all county BOCC offices are closed to the public. That means that we've only closed off the public. We're still operating. All county employees are still doing their jobs. The public can still call in, talk. Some of us have created makeshift drive-through windows, and like the building department, and so those functions are still going on. It's just we're having to do it without the public coming into lobbies, etc. And the sheriff's department has done the same thing. They initiated the same. The BOCC meetings were canceled. The last one was canceled. The next BOCC meeting will be held as scheduled, April 7th. At the same time, it'll always be, we'll go back to that. We'll just be meeting with Zoom, and we'll have a call-in number for that. And until the time, we'll do that until times return to normal when and if they are, when that happens. But it's real important to understand, come April 7th, all the meetings, even planning board, all our meetings will be done via Zoom, and everything will return back to normal as normal can be during this virus. All library programs were canceled until further notice. The library is closed to the public, but they do offer curbside pickup, and according to our librarian, that is going very well. And as far as I know, we're one of the few libraries in the county, in the state that are actually doing this.
Zoom thing, is this something we dial in from home or something?
Yeah, we'll go over that. You'll learn that. The recreation programs at Medark Recreation Park have been canceled until further notice. Shell Point Beach, Masha Sands Beach, they will be closed until further notice as well. All county parks remain open. We've closed down the bathrooms there because of the sanitary conditions that we were getting. So therefore, the bathrooms will not be available. All boat ramps are open and will remain open. And that's all that we've done and all that we really plan to do at this point in time.
And the fact that we have a state of emergency was imposed.
Yes, state of emergency was imposed, what's that, 8-9 days ago? Jennifer, we've been operating all our stuff. We've been following EOC and Department of Health guidance. All right. And the EOC was activated on Monday the 16th, and I think that's the same time as as normal our state of emergency was.
And you approved some?
Yes, I approved some operational items with the chairman signed those items to keep the county running, and those items, that was done this past Monday.
Okay, and that was authorized by?
By the emergency declaration. As part of my authority, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And in all these instances, we went to the attorney, made sure we were doing everything above board.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And, okay. All right. Now, going forward, we'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to, all the commissioners, this is one time we have to talk about what we've done, where we're going, and how we're going to proceed from here as far as meetings. I spent about 3 hours today with Jessica, and we trained on Zoom, so we have a better understanding how to use Zoom now. We had someone come in that was quasi expert on it and kind of helped us get it where we can get it started, but we need to get all the commissioners. I think if they haven't already asked you, they're going to ask you to come in on Friday if that's possible to train for about 30 minutes. We'll have to do it individually And then that way, when we have the first meeting, it'll go smoother on April 7th, and we won't have as many hiccups in it. So that's the way we'll go forward with the meetings from here on, unless all this stuff goes away magically and the Lord blesses us and this is all behind us and we can go back to normal. So with that said, I'll just start. Ralph, you want to, any comments?
I do. First, let me say that I know we're in uncharted territory, and I know it's tough, and a lot of tough decisions have to be made, and there's a lot of unknowns that we have to deal with. But I'm personally very frustrated with the path that we're on. I feel that this emergency declaration, even though we got, I shouldn't say we, I didn't get any attorney advice whatsoever. I've been getting information after the fact, probably after some of you guys in the public are getting it. Then it's making it to me, and I got a problem with that, and I've addressed that with David. He has communicated a lot of stuff to me, but there's some things that's not getting to me until, after it's already done, after the trigger's pulled, like, Shell Point, closing, things like that. I believe, in spite of the attorney's advice, I believe that both of our emergency declarations are illegal and should not have been adopted. And, I probably should have picked that up last week, because the problem the item that I have the heartburn with is in one of the whereas statements. But with a lot of these, we see so many, and we go right to the meat of the declaration and find out what it's doing instead of the whereas. But since then, I've seen some decisions being made that I think are critical decisions. I think are controversial decisions that I believe that the people elected us to be a part of that decision, and not just the decision, but the questioning. I understand there were some problems at Shell Point, and we need to hear from the Sheriff's Department. We need to hear from the Health Department. We need to hear from Emergency Management. We need to be able to look at that and gather all that information and be a part of that. So I don't think that has happened. I'm gonna read this paragraph here that I have heartburn with. That was the basis. So when I started seeing some of these decisions being made, I asked myself, well, what gives a chairman the authority to do this without support of his board? And this is not about you. This is about any chairman. And I believe that you did, from what I know, you did what you could and should based on the advice that you got. But this says here, this is under person empowered to declare a local state of emergency pursuant to Florida Statute Chapter 252, which authorizes the waiver of procedures and formalities otherwise required of political subdivisions to take whatever prudent actions are necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community in the event of an emergency. Then pay real close attention to this part. When a quorum of the Board of County Commissioners is unable to meet, the chairperson of the Board of County Commissioners or the vice chair in his absence or his designee is hereby designated and empowered to declare a local state of emergency whenever the person shall determine that a natural, technological, or man-made disaster or emergency has occurred, or that the occurrence or threat of one is imminent and requires immediate and expeditious action. So let me go back. When a quorum of the Board of County Commissioners is unable to meet. That's the qualifying statement that gives him the authority to do that. And he should have the authority to do that. If we've got a hurricane bearing down and a decision has to be made and we can't get this board together, he needs to have that authority. So I don't have a problem with that. If we had 3 commissioners that are in the hospital because we're sick from this virus, he needs to have the authority to do that. In this case, we have commissioners all over the state that are still meeting. They're still doing their business. David just gave us a rundown. All his staff is still working. Somehow, we've been put on the non-essential list. At least 4 of us have been put on the non-essential list. And I got a problem with that. I got a big problem with that. I shared that with the county attorney. I shared that with David Edwards. We need to continue doing our job just like everyone else, especially given the fact that our governor has given us a special accommodation that we don't have to meet like this. We can meet electronically, and David's let us know that's in the works. That's definitely in the works. But in my opinion, we didn't have an imminent threat that should have triggered that scenario. And, it all goes back down to when a quorum of the Board of County Commissioners is unable to meet. I'm able to meet. Look at us right now. Apparently, we're able to meet. We're all here. And so there's not been a circumstance where I've been asked to meet and could not meet. And so what this looks like to me, someone, and whoever pulled the trigger or gave the advice, someone decided that for us. Someone decided we should not allow the commissioners to meet. We should pull that trigger. We should do this for them. We should implement these steps. And I don't think this situation warrants that. I think if there was a storm coming, it might warrant that. But in this case, I think it tied our hands. I think it put us on the bench when we're here to represent. We need to be out there in the public. We need to make sure the public knows we're carrying their concerns. We need to be able to communicate that. We need to know what's going on. You know, I didn't know there was a second emergency declaration. These are only good for 7 days. So I knew about the first one. I didn't know there was a second one until this morning after I started pushing and found out, you know, because that's one of the points I was going to make. Well, your declaration is already expired. Oh, no, it ain't. They renewed it on Monday. I'm a commissioner. I'm a non-essential commissioner, apparently. And I hope that you guys didn't get the same thing. But if you did, I think we all should be frustrated because we're here to be a part of the solution, part of the problem. This is tough times. I get that. But I'll let someone else speak at this point.
Okay, Quincy?
I'm just a little bit confused about, so did we all not get the chain of emails about how we were going to proceed with this?
Yes, y'all have. I've sent y'all information as I have gotten it as we made decisions. Yes.
Okay, and then so Ralph, your thing is that they had a meeting on Monday without the rest of us here. Is that what it boils down to?
That, plus they made a decision to close down the beach without us discussing it and understanding the implications of that. I had exchanged some emails with David, and I think we've all seen them where the health department was recommending keeping it open. I understood that. I understood that there was a incident that happened on Sunday. I sent him an email with a list of suggestions of ways that I think we can handle that. It doesn't have to be that way, but I think that's something that should have been discussed by this board. And I'll tell you what I was recommending. First of all, we certainly do not need that beach over capacity. There's definitely not. So I said, why don't we get the health department to look at the square footage, look at the recommended distances, because our governor has not recommended closing all the beaches in the county. So why don't we get that number and figure out what the carrying capacity of that beach, just like this room here. Let's figure out how many it can hold. And if we're going to keep people off the beach, that means we're going to have to monitor it. So let's have people monitor so they can still use it. But once we get to that capacity, let's turn it off. Just like he's going to stop people from coming in the door when there's no more seats. Okay. Let's post someone to check IDs. And if you're not from this county, you get turned around to start with. You don't even take up our small minimum capacity. And so these were just suggestions that could be used, could be rejected, but that's irrelevant. The point is it needed to be discussed. I didn't learn until after the fact about some of the incidents and some of the things that went on and some of the, and he probably made a perfectly logical decision. Please don't misunderstand that it might have been the right decision, but I think it's something that this board needs to make.
Okay,
And
so
I
the people that
did.
are going to check the IDs and be more labored is the sheriff's department?
Well, I don't know. That's what we need to figure out. But if we've got a ban on the beach now, doesn't someone have to enforce that?
I would think that people just aren't using common sense and they're still going to the beach. And so, I mean, I think in these types of times, if we already knew how the meeting was going to be on Monday, maybe we should have, circled back on Monday to make sure that was the right thing to do.
Well, I personally think that when you disperse a crowd, they're just going to go somewhere else. And so, if they're having a party on the beach and you make them leave, you really didn't separate the people, you just moved them. I don't think that we're fooling ourselves to think that, okay, well, I got to go home because they won't let me be at Shell Point. Look at the river, look at, the shoals.
But those things aren't owned by the county.
I understand.
So, and the only thing I have to say is I really do appreciate what you've done this week, Mike.
Okay. Let me just back up before we go any with any other commissioners. Let me just say this. I know over the years I've spent on this board that we've had many emergency declarations that we never met to sign. So this isn't new territory. We're in unique times. This is something that none of us in this room have ever dealt with, ever. And going forward, I don't want to meet again. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to meet right now because there's more than 10 people in this room, and that's what we're being told by the people, the CDC, people who are doctors. I'm not a doctor. If any of you are doctors, I'll listen, but until somebody has a degree that's a medical doctor, by the way, then I'll listen. But I'm listening to the CDC. I'm listening to that lady who's sitting right out there. And if the health department recommended shut the beach down, Ms. Nagy recommended shutting the beach down, then I felt like the beach probably needed to be shut down. Now, I didn't make that decision on my own. I got with David. I got with Heather. She was on the phone when we made that decision. Now, was it the right decision? I think it was. Did we hurt anybody? No. Now, could we have gotten together? Yeah, we probably could have, and we still would have violated the policy that we shouldn't be gathering. And that's where we are right now. I don't think we need to be in this room together right now, but that's my
You
opinion.
shouldn't be here at all. I'm just going to interrupt. I have absolutely no qualms with what y'all did. None, zero. This is an unprecedented event.
They can't keep up with things. That's
I
what's
don't,
gonna run
now, Francie Lowe called me about the beach. The problem was people, got kicked out of every place. They were congregating on the beach and causing a problem. And, I mean, I have absolutely no problem with
If we'd have done $100 million project for paving somewhere on a road that I wanted paved, then I could say maybe we got an issue. But we had an emergency declaration. We got a country that's deteriorating daily, and a state that don't know what to do, a governor who's trying to make decisions for us, and we're just one locale that's trying to do the best in our county. Thank God we don't have any cases as I know right now, and I hope to God we don't ever have any. But if we keep gathering, then we're going to have cases. That's the end of, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we shouldn't meet, Ralph. Believe me, it bothered me that we didn't meet. That man can tell you right there that every time we talked, I said, should we have an emergency meeting? I said that. But then we all talked amongst one another that were there and said, no,
Well,
that's
and
probably...
before we made this, and also just to make sure Ralph knows as well, is like when we were in there and I said, I was gonna make the call, shut the beach down. I was in there and we talked about
Yes.
having an emergency meeting, and I wanted to have a meeting, but it was like, no. Then once I got the information from Miss Tanya here, she sent an email, said close it. Then that lady right over there said close it. At that point in time, it was incumbent upon me, based on where we stood at that point in time, for the health and welfare of the citizens of this county, based on all the information I had, to close it down. Now, here's what can happen. Y'all can vote right now to open it back up.
when I called
Every
you
one of you.
Sunday night, and suggested close it, you didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to close it. We were the last beach in this area to close, one of them. We're also one of the last libraries to have closed our doors. I've tried not to do stuff unless we absolutely possibly can. And at the end of the day, when those two did it, because here's the problem. Don't want to be sitting here and you guys saying, you had all this information from these folks and you didn't close the beach, and now we got a swarm of COVID and we got 30 people dying. Why didn't you close the beach, David? That ain't gonna happen with me. That's the reason I made that decision, and I'd make it more. And I understand exactly where Ralph's coming. I've told him. I understand what he's talking about. I would have loved to have had a meeting. I think I told you that, right? I told you that, and I told her I want the board to make this call. But at the end of the day, when that happened, when those two sent that, I said, let's go. Because at that time, we had other big fish to fry. And because, as you said, this thing, and people don't understand, Jessica, am I right? This thing changes every 10 minutes. We get a new directive every 10 minutes. Am I right, Tanya? Am I right, Jennifer? Every 10 minutes.
Well, that's,
And I respect what you're saying, and you're right, and y'all are the board, and I work for you guys. But I want you to understand, that's the reason we did it. But moving forward, I can't fix the past. We can't fix that. What's done's done. Other than if y'all want to vote to open it up, that's fine. But moving forward, we're going to start our regular meetings. The planning board's going to have regular meetings. Code board, whatever other boards want to meet, they can meet. We're going to do county business as it should. We had one blip in the screen, which is this segment of time, when everybody in Leon County hasn't met. Everybody, and they actually did a curfew, and they sent me the information, and I was like, I don't even want to look at that. But from here on, everything's going to be before y'all, everything.
At least Francie will think I'm the one that got the beach.
Exactly. But from here on, we are operating as of right now, unless something dire happens, and with this, there's no telling. Unless something dire happens, there's not a thing that's going to close unless you guys are part of it, because now we start our regular meetings.
Are there any votes we're gonna take here today?
Not that I know of, unless y'all want to. It's up to y'all. Y'all are the
I
commission.
mean, would it be prudent to ratify the motions the actions that were taken, or does it matter?
We didn't take any.
You're at there were 6 of us who got together. David had the authority under the emergency declarations to administratively approve certain routine or very time-sensitive matters. When we got together, he went through them all, determined which ones. Exactly, but those are going to come back to you for ratification anyway.
Let me add right there that I wasn't even invited to that meeting at first, okay? But I insisted on going because I wanted to represent the board.
That's what we
And be in
elected
that
for the
room.
chairman.
And be in that room, so when I heard the decisions that were made, that I had a say in them, just to represent the board. That's the only reason I got to go to that meeting, quite honestly. Otherwise, they were going to conduct the meeting without me. So I did that purposely, Ralph, but I don't think, let me just say, personally, I wasn't trying to circumvent this board in no way, nor would I ever do that. I just happen to be the chairman at this time, and, I'm going to do the best I can with it. If you guys don't want me to be the chairman, you can vote to remove me and put somebody else here and let them do the job. I am quite fine with that. I can tell you that I haven't done anything wrong that hurts this county, nor would I ever do anything wrong to hurt this county. And I know those people right there that work with me to do this so far has had no ill intent to do anything wrong with this county. The few minor things we've done, I believe, had to be done. All I saw was a train coming, and that's all I could see at first, because we didn't know what we had coming. And now that we've kind of got down in the weeds of this stuff and understand how it's working, we have a little breathing room. At first, I didn't think we had any breathing room. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I didn't know if we were going to have to tell people to stay home and not even venture out on the streets. And I'm not so sure that's still not coming. But believe me, I had no ill intent.
Well, see,
to do
that's...
anything wrong on this board.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's what I'm concerned of, is you said you're not sure that's still not going to happen, and I think we need to be a part of that decision. That's all I'm saying. It's been over 3 weeks since we've had a meeting. The last meeting we had was before the governor made the emergency declaration. So we should have gotten together, and we should have fleshed some of this stuff out and say, this new modified procedure, like it or not, routine or not, he approved things that this board would approve at any other time.
Yes.
And so he stepped in the shoes of the county commission, and that's okay if we've delegated that authority to him.
We did by the virtue of that emergency declaration.
I call that in question, because when you ask if you ask was I available, I was available. So we never, how would we know we weren't available to get a quorum? Because I know nobody polled us, nobody asked, hey, do y'all want to come together and get a meeting? So that was unilaterally decided by you or by staff or by someone, and you know what? This isn't about Shell Point. Shell Point can close. This isn't about whether or not we need an emergency declaration. This is about who gets to decide that and who needs to be part of that conversation. We represent the people, and for me, most things are pretty easy for me to decide, make a decision and vote, because I look at, I kind of look at 2 different kind of politicians. You got some that are leaders, servant leaders, and you got others that want to be rulers. And when I have to make a decision, I look at that and say, well, am I ruling the people and I'm forcing something on them, or am I serving the people? Okay, that's the way I try to look at this. And not everybody is the same way, and that's okay. I'm not trying to tell anybody else. We all got to stand for our own votes. But I think that we need to serve the people, not force them into quarantines, not force them into, let's shut down the boat ramps, not force them into curfews, but I think we could be smarter about that, but we still need to have that conversation. That's what we're here for.
And we will going forward, Ralph. Today we established that we got Zoom, and as soon as we can get everybody trained on it Friday, then I'd say we could have a meeting Saturday, Sunday, Monday, any day after that. So, we're behind that power curve because this all caught us by surprise. I mean, this is not something we all trained for.
No.
I don't know how to deal with a COVID virus. I'm sorry, I don't. I'm not a doctor. But I have to depend on the people that we put in place when we declare this emergency, then that's what we got to do. I want to give Chuck a chance to talk here.
So, am I missing something? We couldn't have a meeting electronically until recently?
Until the governor on Friday, yes.
And
Until the
so
governor.
we didn't have the ability to do a Zoom meeting until Friday, so we couldn't have a meeting and we couldn't get together.
That's not correct. We couldn't have an electronic meeting.
We couldn't have an electronic meeting.
Right. But there's people meeting all over the state right now.
We could take the risk, and I'm a high risk, okay?
So we should have determined that. We should have
So
voted for that.
I don't want to be in a situation where I can get into a, be exposed to this disease. Now, as we move forward, we need to come up and forget about this. This is done. This is over with. You can argue all you want about it, but it's over. How are we going to move forward? We're going to have a Zoom meetings as we go forward. How are we going to start worrying about protecting our citizens, our elder citizens that are stuck at home, they can't go out? We need to be thinking about these types of issues as we move forward and how to make sure they're doing okay, because this disease kind of sneaks up on you. All of a sudden, you're in respiratory stress, and we're a long way from Tallahassee. And so we need to have plans on how we're going to address these people and looking after our elder citizens. I'm not sure, that's the kind of things we should be discussing here.
Well, let me add something. This is, as you said, did we make mistakes, Ralph? Yeah, we probably did. Commissioners, did we? Yeah. But you know what? We've learned from this. I can't go back and fix what was done, but there was nothing done illegal. There was nothing done. Everything was transparent. But what we have to do is, like I think, Chuck, we got to move forward because the citizens expect us not to argue, but to move forward. Because we're in the middle of a damn pandemic. And how many of y'all have ever been through a pandemic just like this? Exactly. So we as a community, we got to, I understand we're arguing, but gee willikers, people, we're in the middle of a daggum mess here. And from here on, we're going to have meetings until they tell us to cut off communications. Heaven forbid that ever happens. So if there is, I can guarantee you this, if there's a closing in the boat ramps and there's a curfew like Tallahassee and Leon County put in place, you guys will be making that call. Not me.
I want that to be part of the decision so we know where we stand on that
That's what
now.
we're saying. That's what we're saying. Yes, you will. But what we have to do, well, here's what I've told my staff. We met 3 or 5 times last week. We have to learn from this, and we got to create a list of things because nobody has been through it because nobody in this room raised their hand. So we're having to create stuff to say, here's what happened. Now, how are we going to fix it in the future? Because we're running this by the seat of our pants. Because there is nobody in the state, there's nobody in this country knows what to do. Because I get guidance from the federal government and the state government, and if I'm lying, I'm dying. 10 minutes later, it changes. Mm-hmm. So that's what we got to do. So we need to talk about what's moving forward. Moving forward, we're going to be having those meetings. Moving forward, we plan on leaving the library open. Okay. We as far as our curbside is concerned, I think Tanya, if you want to get up and talk a little bit, I think you probably need to talk a little bit here, if you agree about moving forward.
I want to make sure we're past this part. I agree.
One more point.
Okay.
I think we're probably all in agreement we need to move forward with electronic meetings. I think there's no question about that. But did we vote on that?
No.
No, we didn't. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Motion we have electronic.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Where's that? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All for the meetings?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mike, I appreciate what you've done. I'm glad I'm not chair.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, we're
as
gonna
far
have
as the
that
beaches goes,
discussion.
if the public health professionals told us to close it, we should be closing it.
I want to ask if Tanya, you come up and give us an update on where we're at with the local cases, if we have any, and what you know about the
Currently,
state.
we have no local cases. Statewide, we have, if I can read, we have 1,682, and this was as of 11 o'clock this morning. The biggest thing is social distancing. That's what we've got to stress. People, it's our elderly that we need. It's our elderly that we need to worry about. You could be asymptomatic for several days before you even know that you have the virus. And I can tell you what the objectives for the for DOH right now is: stop the spread, protect the elderly, increase testing, enforce social distancing, and get the medical supplies that we need.
Okay.
So,
Any questions for her from the board?
Appreciate what y'all are doing too, Tom.
Yes, y'all been on top of it.
I saw there were 8 people tested. Is that accurate? Is that still correct?
I don't know right off the top of my head without looking, talking to our epidemiologist, but I can tell you we have an awesome epidemiologist that's serving 8 counties, and she is on task and on top of things. It goes up every day because they're going to Tallahassee, they're going to their local physicians. Until the end of the day, we don't really have a true number.
We thought we had our first one Sunday night. I think we transported someone Sunday night, we thought, but it tested negative.
It was just a senior citizen that was in a nursing home, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had to put the ambulance out and
Right.
scour it and all that stuff.
Jennifer, you want to add anything from your perspective?
Honestly, don't have a lot to add. I can tell you that 64 out of the 67 counties are where we're at. They've all got declared local states of emergency. All of the EOCs, most of them, I will say, are operating at a level 2, which is what we consider ourselves at. It's a partial activation, partial not full, because it's different than a hurricane. We don't have all of our emergency support functions at the table. And we're not running 24 hours a day right now. I'm there from 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening every day trying to keep this stuff moving. I would agree with Tanya that we really have to protect our vulnerable citizens. That was why I gave the advice that I did towards closing the beach, because you do have sometimes that 7 to 14 days before we know whether or not you're symptomatic. So you've got people out there having a good time that don't know that they're transmitting the virus. So that's our concern there. And our objectives are pretty much the same as Tanya's day-to-day in the EOC. We're trying to put public messaging out there, telling people to please practice that social distancing, stay gatherings less than 10, and we are also looking at feeding and things like that going forward, what our elderly are going to need and how we can support them in this as this continues.
Okay, and
Appreciate what you're doing.
we've been meeting, we met last Thursday officially. David and I went to that meeting, and then we have another meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m., I think it is, or 10 a.m.
Yes, sir. So once you declare a local state of emergency, that in fact, what it does is it activates the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, which is ratified by this board, and that puts in place the policy group, which is over emergency management. That policy group is considered to be by our Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. The administrator, the chairman, the sheriff, and myself is how it's defined as that policy group, and we are meeting every Thursday right now.
Okay,
This is the most people I've been around in a couple weeks, by the way, today.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I know the high-risk people in here, I can point them out. Chuck, his knowledge, he's high risk. I'm high risk because I'm that age. Quincy, I know, is high risk from her medical conditions, and Heather is high risk from some issues she has. But beyond that, some of us are high risk because we have kids at home who are high risk. And every time we come in contact and open that doorknob or that doorknob, and one of us in here are carrying it, and then the other go by and pick it up, then, oh my God, then all of us in this room's got it. But, we just need to exercise social distancing and do our best to wash our hands and do all the other things, silly things that sound silly to us as adults. But the fact remains, that's how we're getting this stuff. So, believe me, when I started this down this road, I did not at all intend for anybody to be left out. And I take offense to what you said. You made it sound like I may be the ruler kind of commissioner. I'm not the ruler kind of commissioner. I was doing my best to do what I thought was right at the time. And if I had to do it over again, I'd do the same thing again. So,
Fine with me.
Cheryl, did you want to say?
I did want to say something.
come on up to the mic, please, Cheryl.
I think I can talk loud
enough without getting around everybody.
But we need to record you.
Okay, I'm Cheryl, a tax collector, and my only thing I would like to request, and this has been going on since I've been in office, so it's nothing new, but we don't seem to have a chain of command or something that I'm aware of as far as notifications. I mean, I get up, I call Brad because we work close together, and what are we doing? And now this situation, I know it's day-to-day changes. But what I think I'm trying to request, and I know my office is nothing like yours because I have services, and I have to keep the state happy as well as the county. But I would like us to have some way to communicate with all of us. I mean, suddenly I find out the courthouse is closed. I know nothing about it, the hours or whatever. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying. So I call Buddy Wells or I call Brett. We don't, any of us have a communication. And I feel like we're part of you too. And we want to know, you give us some guidance, tell us if we should be doing something different, or everybody's closing, or we're going to keep it open part-time, something, just help us. I mean, I'll notice on the hurricanes, we'll have that. Well, our building's your building, but nobody tells us what to do. I guess what I'm asking is if you want this kind of guidance too, so do we. We kind of want somebody that we can look to tell us what we should do with our offices. And like I said, I know I'm totally different. I can't just shut down like some of you. I sell stuff, and boy, I close the doors and put a big note to call. But my goodness, they burn me up on the internet until I get on there and say, hey, come read the door. Or, yes, we do that. Or you can do this. But I know I'm a little different there, but I would just like us to be thought of and included, please. I mean, I don't mean to be fussing. I'm not fussing. I need somebody to tell me sometimes what to do.
I think you're on the public announcement list that Jessica sends out.
But I didn't know anything about the courthouse closing until I read it on the door.
I don't know if we had that on our.
That's what I'm thinking. We don't. That's what I mean.
State closed courthouse.
Right,
so, yeah.
but I mean,
and we should have done that.
That's what I'm saying. I know that. I know y'all tell us everything you do, but us constitutionalists don't know what the other is going to do. And I mean, some of us work closer together. Of course, we use the courthouse, but that's what I'm trying to say is just if we can come up with a solution when y'all are going to do something, or to tell us what to do too, because we need to know. We don't want to jeopardize you either. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Greg, you constitutional officer for almost a constitutional
I'll
officer.
speak on behalf of Brent, I guess. We didn't make the decision to close the courthouse. Our chief deputy, our chief judge of the Second Judicial Circuit did that. And so we were told to close the doors. We notified EOC as soon as we got the administrative order. We don't have a public information officer. I can't notify everybody that might want to know about it. We notified the proper executive authority, notified the county and notified EOC.
So Jennifer, I guess you could add, if you get notified by somebody that something's going to happen, could you?
I think, I was to say, I've been sending out the SIP notes, and everybody, are you on my situation reports? You're getting them, okay.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about our individual offices, what they're going to do.
She doesn't have a chief judge to close her office.
That's
She
right.
needs direction.
And
We
Brad,
got that
but-
direction. She didn't.
We just get
Brad didn't
bombarded.
do that.
This one's closed.
Anytime.
Why are you closing? Or they're open. Why are you closing?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, ma'am.
We can do, during states of emergency, we can do it, I can't remember, we did it daily. You can do however you would like to move forward. We can do conference calls with those key personnel on a conference call where we can have some of these discussions about what we're doing and what the current operation procedure is.
Can we do that on those Thursdays we meet, Jennifer? Can we put a conference call in then?
We can do that.
Well, and I think our assumption was that, and this is what I assumed, and maybe you know what they say about assume, was us as a board, we send out this public announcement of what we're going to be doing, and to everybody, to the constitutionals. But each constitutional, is the way I understand it, is responsible for their own office as to what you're going to do with your office. I can't dictate to you, here's what to do. So all we're doing is sending out to you, here's what we're doing. Now it's up to you whether you mimic what we do or you you go do Y.
Looking for suggestions.
Right, that's right, but I need to hear that you need suggestions, because I don't know that, because realize we're pumping out information, but we got to know, just like Greg, he called me and said, I mean, time it happened, the state just shut me down, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, heck if I know, I've never, I couldn't tell you either, so. But I mean, we as constitutionals, y'all run your own show, so all we can do is tell you what we're doing, and then it's up to you guys to either mimic that or do what you do.
Brad, what are y'all doing in your office?
We're doing the same thing.
I mean, are y'all shut down, or you public open? Is it open to the public?
No, we're closed to the public. We had a meeting with our association, but I think kind of back to what Cheryl's saying, you're right, David. We do make our own decisions. We don't fall under the board with that as far as closures. But I think what she's saying, she'd have liked to have had a conference call or some kind of communication rather than finding out in a public notice that the board was doing what they were doing, so that we had an idea and had the ability to do the same thing. And I think that's what she's really saying.
Okay.
As far as our office is concerned, yes, we went with our association. We talked with, there's 59 other counties in our association, and we looked at what all of they were doing on Friday. And what we've done, for the social distancing, we've split our office up. Half of them are coming in one week, half of them coming in the next week. We also have some that are able to work from home and telecommute. They're doing that. And then, our management staff is at the office. As far as anything else, like I said, we've got it closed the doors, but we're still doing stuff electronically. We're still doing stuff by phone.
Okay. That's a good point. I think I understand now. In the future, we'll do our best to try to call all the constitutional officers and say, this is what we're doing. And, you need to try to figure out how to do that same plan with your folks, so.
And also, I would ask the constitutional officers that if you get this public notice and you have questions, please call us, because a lot of times we move on to other stuff, and I'd hate to tell you, I forget about you. So, but anyway.
Any citizens with this here would like to be heard, you're welcome to come up. Come on up. Hold on, Chris. We got.
No, please. You're a hell of a lot.
Just give us your name and.
Steve Cushman, 167 DC Wallace. So I've been reading, watching what's going on here, and I got to tell you, I side with Ralph. There's a democracy, there's protocol to that, and just up and deciding to do things without a vote, and then you all admit that, yeah, we could have met, but you're scared to meet. If we're that scared to meet, shut it down. It's that simple. You're worried about somebody coming to our beach and bringing something down here, but yet how many of our residents go to Tallahassee where there's confirmed cases and then come back home every night? Shut it down. It's that simple. Shut it down if you're that scared. We're either scared or we're not. It's not black or white. It's black or white. It's not gray. You act like we don't know what we're doing, but this isn't new to us. It is new to us. It's new to everybody. Nobody has the viral leash that we can control this thing, so why are we nitpicking a beach or nitpicking restaurants, nitpicking the school? Shut it down. If we're that scared, let's close it all. What's it going to kill us for 2 weeks? Shut it all, get past this thing, and move on. We are prolonging the inevitable right now, in my opinion, if we don't.
And I agree, but you got to get the governor to make that call.
And as far as Chuck's comment about how do we take care of our elderly, we're destined to be a bedroom community to Tallahassee. Maybe we should call them and ask them. That's what everybody wants here. David said it to me, I don't know how many times, bedroom community. And then let's look at what we just did. Y'all had a meeting in November of 2018. Some of you, I know Quincy wasn't there, and I believe Chuck may not have been there. But that was just ordered by a judge that it was violating the Sunshine Law. Did we just do that again? How much is it going to cost us down the road? Who's giving us the advice that we can do the things we're doing, and then we end up writing $22,000 checks to cover attorney fees on top of paying our own attorney for bad advice? When do we stop that? I mean, I've just sat here and looked at the last couple of years. It's been bad advice on top of bad advice. So when do we stop it all? Just shut it down. Let's regroup. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
I think I want to wait after that.
Chris Russell, 92 Pimlico, but I'm here on behalf of the chamber. First of all, I'd like to say thank y'all for what you do. Seriously, it's a trying time for all of you. I'd also like to say, how about it? It sucks to come in here and you can't shake a hand. You can't get a hug, right? So we're in a really trying time. Do what, buddy?
Me and you hug all the time, don't we?
We do. That's out in Smith Creek. Just a few things from the chamber side looking in. You know, we'll never be able to regulate morality, right? We're going to try our best to get things done to make it where it's best. As you move forward, please take in consideration our boat ramps. Do not shut them down. It's an avenue for us. On that note, our marinas. Do not shut our marinas down. Shell Point, Shields Marina, they have enacted some procedures there that they're right in line of what should be done. They're working to get things done. That's what we need to do. Me personally, I don't go to the beaches here because I go on my boat. However, we might have handled that a little different, in my personal opinion. Yes, I'm 20/20 vision, look at mine. But there's options. Look at what Walmart's doing. Look at what Winn-Dixie's doing. We have options to look at the situation and then look at all angles and see if we're making the best move overall. Yes, we have to be quick with it, but we also have to be judicious to the citizens and to our businesses down here. We're at a unique time in the fact that there's a lot of people working from home in Wakulla County. Let's open up the landfill every day. Let's go ahead and help them people out, right? We're at a time that we should be looking for opportunities to help each other. We're going to be under some economic struggles here, there's no doubt. However, for years we haven't been. And for years, our taxes have gone up. And the fact that we're paying more. Here's an excellent time for y'all to vote. You want to vote on something today? Vote on the millage rate decrease. Just a small one. Show your citizens out there, hey, look here. We would like to give you a little extra money in your pocket. We know we're going to be in challenging times. Sure, it's not the budget time, but you could do it. Let's help them if we can. I'd also say that please keep the business community informed. We're not asking to make the decisions. We just want to make sure that you're aware. You know what I'm saying? You're Dave said it, you know, right here, public safety, health, environment, that stuff. We get that. But sometimes we miss out on the fact that our business community is there. So loop us in. We'll be glad to message with you. We'll be glad to help quell rumors with you. For example, all the tension I've seen here today, one man's opinion, has been relative to communication. One issue, communication. We sat in here in this meeting right here. Oh, I didn't know we had time. I would have gone quicker. Oh, time out. This you want to know. We've had 22 tests done, DOH. 22 tests, 21 negatives, one still under investigation. Communication. Those are things we've got to know. Jeff, I don't know if we can get the sit reps out to the public. I don't know why we couldn't, but I don't know if you'd want to, but we'll message with you on that. I know Petra's working to get some stuff out. We all are in this together. We are in this together. We are fortunate that we do not have a case in our county. Let's keep it that way, but let's be smart as we move forward. Once again, thank you for what all y'all do. Appreciate you.
Can I expound on one of his points? You can sit down, Chris.
You sure? Well, I don't know, man. I turn my back on you and
Yeah. It reminded me of one thing is just to let the public know, and as Chris and also Chris know in the chamber, we haven't shut down any projects, any of our, because we understand that what we do as a county, even though it's a piece of the puzzle, the economic money that we put into the county, we haven't shut any, none of that has been shut down. We're continuing with projects until the board says stop. Boat ramps are, we have no intention whatsoever unless the governor and this board says shut it down. That would be insane because that shuts down a huge industry. Plus that's social distancing at its best. I would just ask the people on, when you're on Wakulla River to please don't play as loud of music and don't raft together. and because we've had our share of complaints, but do understand and the public need to understand, we have not shut down any projects. We have not stopped doing things. We're continuing to pump money into the economy. So we're doing everything that we possibly can.
And if I may, so they have a curfew in Tallahassee, right, 11 o'clock. Well, I'm floundering at 11 at night, right? So we have to be cognizant that we're unique in Wakulla County, that it can't just be, you know, one wide brush.
I'm asleep at 11 o'clock.
Randy, don't answer.
We understand, Chris.
Yeah,
We
we
appreciate
understand.
it.
And we haven't even talked about curfews. Let the public understand that.
not gonna be
We
that
have
way.
not talked about it.
You say that, but I heard in this meeting, it alluded to, in this very.
Well, but that is something that will be discussed at length, if that ever.
And flounder neither.
And we're not going to ban floundering. But just to understand, the people, and I've gotten emails more about the boat ramps than anything else, and I tell everybody, we're keeping the boat ramps open, so.
And I'm sorry, let's not, and I'm not saying you're doing it, but let's fight in case it comes. Let's not hurt our local businesses like our marinas and whatnot because of the folks rafting or whatnot. The issue is the folks getting together.
That was just a suggestion.
No, what I'm saying is that's coming down, that's being taught in South Florida. We need to be ahead of it here.
That's right, and that's the reason I said that, is to prevent something like that, what's happening in South Florida, where the governor's like, we're gonna shut this down. We're gonna shut you down. We're saying, just don't be 6 foot from each other. Get your 6 foot line of rope.
Also, when you mentioned about not serving people from another county, I hope we don't do that either. I don't know. I understand where you're saying, but in our case, we've picked up several dealers because we're in a situation, Tallahassee's closed, Franklin County's closed. I did $2,000 for a dealer yesterday, to your benefit, that came from Tallahassee. Plus the state DMV called me and asked, would I please, a school has graduated drivers, would I please do their CDLs so they could haul medical supplies? So I don't want to say let's not let anybody come in. Of course, we do it very cautious. They come to the door, we crack it, take their stuff, gloves, take it back. But, you know, some circumstances I don't think we're harmful to let others come in.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that comment was strictly limited to beach visitors.
Okay,
That
good.
I understand you provide a state service.
And there's been no talk at all, Chris, about doing any of those things. So rest assured, we're not going to do that unless somebody with much higher authority than us dictates that we do that, mandates that we do that. Close boat ramps or mess with the marinas. Believe me, we're not going, at least my vote won't be to do that. So if it gets mandated from above, then we don't have much choice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just advocating ahead of it.
Okay.
Right.
I agree. Good point. All right, Greg, you hit.
Speak to what he said to me real quick. I have been sending those sit reps to Petra, and Chris in our office has been taking the public portion of that out and posting it to our website, to the Twitter feed, to Facebook. So we have been trying to, and I've also been including anything local business-wise that Petra sends to me gets added to that sit rep and pushed out to the public as far as what's open and what's closed.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, Greg.
I was just going to speak to that very issue, and the fault falls on no one because everybody's trying to handle their own offices. Brent and I meet daily. We send out an email to our employees daily. We don't have a Facebook page, so Brent and I are sort of sending out the information that we have to the public the best we can do it as it relates to the courthouse. The SITREP report contains great information, and yet we're told, and probably rightfully so, that it's not to be published publicly. But it contains great amount of information that we try to relay to our employees, but can't be shared. The board is sharing information publicly as it relates to their offices, and there's no one place, there's not a single repository of information where everybody is publishing it, where one person can go to. You've got to go to 6 different Facebook pages, different websites, and that's the problem.
Okay. Any other citizens desire to be heard? Please come up. Give us your name.
My name's Terry Joe Chapman. I live at 77 Bridlegate Drive, and testing is my concern, and that's what the people in the county want to know is how many people are getting tested, what are the results, and I believe Tim came up and said there was 22 tests and 1 was under investigation. Is that pending? Pending. Well, this is the kind of information that most of the people that I know want to know what's going on in the county. The more we know about the susceptibility of the disease, the more seriously we take our social distance.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Very good point.
And are we disseminating that information?
There
It's
is
coming
a
out regularly. Okay.
dashboard
Yes.
that anybody can go on there, and it has how many people
Right.
in each county are positive, which we have no positives, and then how many people are being tested.
Okay.
Jessica, can we add that to our Facebook or our webpage, whatever you call it?
Okay.
Just that way, they got it. That's good point.
Okay, so any other comments from the public, from the commissioners? Heather, do you have anything to say as from legal perspective?
No, I mean, I think the emergency declarations, a lot of counties around the state have identical language in their codes, giving the chairman or the vice chair or the county administrator in their absence to declare emergencies, made the same decisions that it was not safe to have a quorum present. And so I think what was done was appropriate. However, I do encourage us to get the video meetings going so that we can get back to as normal as possible as business, because there are some things we're not comfortable doing administratively, like quasi-judicial items. All of those things are waiting right now until this board can meet.
Plats that need to be approved, and we got stuff that has to be done.
Exactly, and those are, it's going to be a little complicated to swear people in and do all that kind of stuff and take testimony by video, but we're going to have to work it out, and we may kind of change things as we go once we see how it works with the technology, but I just think we have to be patient and let those kinks work out.
Okay. All right, we'll move forward cautiously as we have been, and we'll try to communicate.
Mr. Chairman, can I
best we
say
can.
one last thing about that? Please ask the public to bear with us on when we do have this April 7th meeting. We're going to get the information out there to you as to what links to pull up. And a lot of you do have Zoom now, especially if you work from home. So that's a big format that a lot of people that work from home are here to use. But bear with us. We're going to try to get it right. It may take a couple of meetings, but please don't be mad if all of a sudden you get cut off for some reason. It's Jessica and is going to do the very, very best she can. She's just learned it today, and we're going to be testing it out over the week. But we're also going to have some people here that are experts at it. But still, just be patient with us.
You have that right.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
All right, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Nuh-uh. Not social distancing either.